the three levels of products. All right, this concept worth for us to discuss further. Okay, so again, to recap about the three levels of product, it contains the core customer value, actual product, and augmented product. Right. So please use this concept to help you detailing the your product analysis. Okay, and again, product planners use these three levels of product to determine whether to suit their own promise for the customers. Okay, if they promise premium or if they promise a budget, they will design the product differently. Okay, well, Qantas may not be a perfect example. So if I change that to another brand, and we can discuss that. Let's say we discuss about Emirates. Okay, airlines, and the other one is Ryanair. I'm not sure whether you have heard that brand before, Ryanair. Who has ever flown Ryanair?
I haven't flown it.
Oh, okay. Could you share to us your experience flying Ryanair? Hello, I was losing the. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Look, Emirates, we know that they offer fantastic service. They offer varieties to beverages, food and beverages. Okay. So if you look at the core customer value of these two airline industry, okay. You could argue that it is actually to fly from A to B. Agree? Right. In the case of Emirates, because of the brand, yep. In the most friendliest way, for instance, or in the premium way, for instance, you label it. Okay. In the case of Ryanair, you could also find them, flying. They also fly people from A to B. Okay. But what they promise is basically in the economy way. Okay, in the economy way, okay, or budget. Okay. Now, if you go through their website, if you surf their websites, you may be able to compare that with our own economy brands in Australia, such as Tiger Airways, for instance. Okay. And the actual product in here, well, they offer here in the case of airline, you can talk about the aircraft that they use, how many passengers that they can take, the leg room, for instance, number of toilets, and so on and so forth. Right now, that is one of the features that Ryanair is trying to reduce. Remember, the premise of Ryanair is to fly people from A to B. I will fly you from A to B, but I'm not going to promise to you anything else. Right? You can sit there, and then if you feel squashy when you sit there, well, look, I'm sorry, we need to take more passengers so we can offer cheap price for customers. Right? I'm hearing they fly from Ireland to the other country in Europe, around 20 euros, 30 euros, that kind of price that they're offering for the customers. So they're pretty economy basically. Okay. And you can also, in the case of actual product, you can also talk about their brand, right? Their logo, for instance, and how they the flight attendant, the uniform of the flight attendants as part of the packaging, for instance, and so on and so forth, right? Augmented product. Well, in the case of Emirates, well, you can do check-in, online check-in. You can select the seats. You can select the food and beverages. Well, I don't eat these, and can I select the other ones, and so on and so forth. What about Ryanair? Well, you can do online check-in. In fact, they expect you to do online check-in. Print your own ticket. If you can't print your own ticket, they'll charge you hefty price for them to print your own ticket. Okay, and what about the others? Well, no, they don't offer it. In fact, for the basic need like toilet, they reduce the number of toilets actually. Okay, so if you want to use it, you need to line up actually. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a comparison in terms of using the three levels of products to design the product or service that that is aligned to our positioning strategy, to our promise for the customers. Okay. Right. Any comments, guys, about the 3 levels of product?
No, good.
All good? All right. Okay, cool. Please use it to help you detailing your product analysis in your assessment too. Okay. I explain the concept briefly. Okay. And then after that, you use it. You use the concept. Okay. What is core customer value? Well, when you explain the concept briefly, you can use the brief definition. Okay. And you implement it to your case. Okay. All right, now briefly, let's talk about this one here, the product and service classifications. Broadly speaking, we have consumer products, industrial products, and others that include organizations, persons, places, events, and IDs, okay, such as political IDs or political parties, for instance, if you like. Now, that's broadly speaking in terms of product and service classifications, okay? And from my memory, referring to your assessments, I think everyone is engaged in the consumer product, in a consumer market, which is good because it is probably more manageable, given that industrial product, the information in industrial product, is a bit more challenging to cover. Okay, so if we zoom into consumer products. We have 4 types of consumer products, okay? Convenience, shopping, specialty, and on-site, right? And if you look at the marketing considerations here, we can look at it from the customer buying perspective, customer buying behavior perspective, the price, distribution, and promotion, okay? If you look at that, that is actually almost like marketing mix variables that we design in here, all right? So convenience product, for instance, it basically is about the product that is purchased by customers on frequent basis. Okay, we buy this product regularly, either daily, weekly, monthly, or fortnightly. Okay, we buy it very, very frequently. Okay, little planning. So some people say sometimes it is also impulse buying. If we go back to consumer behavior perspective, okay, since the product is purchased frequently, the volume would be quite high, and we expect to have high volume if we compete in that industry. Okay, that's the reason why, since the volume, we expect the volume quite high, the price would be quite low, okay, relatively speaking. So people can buy this product on frequent basis, okay? And we also need the distribution to be widespread distribution, or if, now we are going to discuss this briefly in the placement concept, where we actually expect that to be intensive distribution. Because the price is quite low and we expect to have high volume, we need to have distribution quite widely. Okay. Since number of customers quite a lot, think about Tim Tam, for instance. Think about Colgate-Palmolive toothpaste, for instance. Right? We talk about millions of customers, right, in Australia, for instance, millions of households in Australia. Okay, so we can't communicate them on personal in quote unquote basis. So what we do is to use mass promotion as our focus when it comes to communication with the customers. Okay, if you look at the examples, hopefully the examples make it clear. Toothpaste, magazine, laundry detergent, for instance. And the next one is shopping product. We purchase this product on less frequent basis perspective, and we do some planning in this product category. And we also have some shopping efforts. Okay, we may need to analyze a number of things before we make the decision. Yes, I want to buy that one rather than this one. Okay, the price is higher than convenience product or grocery product. Okay, and the distribution is actually selective. Not all outlets will cover these, will range this kind of product category. All right, and in terms of promotion, it focuses on advertising and personal selling by the either the producer or the resellers. Okay, so if you think about consumer electronic such as laptop or major appliances, TV, furniture, clothing. Okay, and fashion, they basically they are basically part of the shopping category. Yeah. And the next one is specialty, which is basically premium product, right? Luxury item. Okay. So from customer buying perspective, they actually have what we call as the strong brand preference. And customers have certain customers may associate themselves to certain brand. Well, I'm a Hermes lady, I'm a Louis Vuitton lady, and so on and so forth, for instance. Right? Special purchase effort. The price is quite high. and the distribution is quite exclusive. Well, if you want to increase your volume by improving your distribution to be intensive distribution, then you may lose the brand soul. Okay. So promotion would be a carefully targeted promotion, and any luxury items belong to this group. Okay. And the next one is unsold, which is basically the last item, the last the last group in our consumer product category. And from consumer perspective, they have little awareness. If they have the awareness and they actually want to avoid that kind of product, if they can, okay, price would be varied, distribution will be varied depending on the company's resources, and promotion would normally be aggressive. So if you look at insurance companies, for instance, okay, if you turn your TV on, most likely you find insurance companies advertising, okay, because they fall under unsold product category. They need to raise the awareness. They need to raise the to keep reminding people, hey, look, guys, you need it, okay. And charity organizations may also fall under this this category, okay, unsold category, okay. Right, so that's related to the types of consumer products, basically. And now the next thing is just briefly about the product and service decisions. We have the individual product and service decisions, product line decisions, and product mix decision. Just briefly about this, the individual product and service decisions include these areas here, the attributes. We need to decide the attributes or features for our products, okay? We also need to decide what brand that we can that we plan to use. Is that our own brand, national brand, or are we going to use a supermarket brand because we are using the contract? We are under contract. What packaging that we are going to use? Now, just in terms of packaging, there are a number of roles of packaging that we can consider. The main ones include the communication. It helps us communicating the image that we want, and it also helps the protecting the product. Okay, it is from functional perspective, it helps protecting the product. Okay, you may recall that in terms of communicating the image of the brand, you may recall Blink H2O, for instance. If we design water brand at $3, yes, we are going to use plastic bottle, right? Plastic label, okay? But if we design a water brand, drink water brand, like Blink H2O, to be retailed at $25 for 600 milliliter, well, you cannot use plastic bottle, all right? A glass bottle is, glass bottle or something like, wine, and use Swarovski's crystal, right? That's the way to go when you pack it, when it comes to packaging them. Okay, and then label. The next one is the labeling. Now, labeling he has at least two major functions. The first one is communication. We communicate how to use the product. We communicate the brand. We communicate all relevant information for the customer, such as nutritional facts in the case of food and beverage category, for instance. Okay. And the next one is actually to comply to the regulations, okay, when it comes to labeling. Okay, countries like Australia and Europe and also America will have some standard in terms of writing nutritional facts, for instance, or displaying what information that we need to include on our label. Okay. And the last one is the product support services. What kind of support services that we need to design? We need to brief them as well, the customer service team. And when we prepare a new product launch, we also need to ensure that they are in the loop of the product knowledge. Okay. Right, so that's the main ones, but they are the main ones in terms of product decisions. And I'm going to skip that. Any questions so far, guys?
That's good. Thanks, Eddie. Just busy listening.
Okay, that's great. And right now, look, just briefly about the product line decisions. Actually, it's actually about the number of items in the product lines. we can add it. We can add the product line. We can also reduce the number of product lines. Okay, so if you think about Unilever, for instance, they have a number of product lines. Okay, and let's say if they have beverage that includes Lipton, for instance. Okay, and we can also add the product line and reduce the product line. Okay, well, to add the number of product lines, the reasons of adding the product line would be as simple as volume, but I'd like us to think about adding product line, as a more strategic into a more strategic reason. Okay, you need to think about building the engagement with customers, for instance, building the advantage for your brand, for a business. Okay, as part of the reasons of adding the new product line. Okay, in terms of reducing, well, number of people suggesting the models such as BCG matrix, for instance, to help us understanding which product should go. Okay, because they are not performing that well. They may erode the the performance of the entire business, for instance. So we need to think about reducing it, or probably it is not meeting the customer's need any longer. So we need to think about reducing this kind of product line. Okay. Just number of concepts like width, depth, and consistency. Width is basically number of different product lines that the company carries. If you think about Unilever, P&G, for instance, they have a number of products in food category and number of products in the non-food category, such as detergent, personal care, for instance. Okay, and so on and so forth. That actually reflects the width. Okay, that's actually the number of versions offered of each product in the line. So if you look at personal care, they have specifically they have shampoo category, for instance. Okay, they have deodorant, they have a number of other products under skincare, and each of them has their own varieties. Okay, in the case of deodorant, for instance, they have men, women deodorant, for instance, and they have certain varieties as well. So that reflects the depth of the product. Okay, the depth of the product, right? And the next one is consistency, which is basically about how close related of each product in the line. Okay, so in brief, company that has strong consistency across their product lines would be benefits in terms of efficiency in managing their resources. Okay, but it is not always. The consistency is not quite high if you look at large companies, for instance. So consistency in here actually refers to whether the production, distribution, and also the way it is consumed are quite consistent. Production, distribution of the product, and consumption. Okay, whether it is produced in a consistent way across product lines, distributed in a consistent way across product lines, and consumed in a consistent way. Okay. Honda, for instance, guys, if I ask you Honda, what kind of products do we know about Honda? What products do we know about the Honda brand?
Cars and lawnmowers.
Lawnmowers, right? Good one. Okay, I didn't. Yeah. Okay, I was. Okay. Good pickup. Lawnmowers. Oops, sorry. Okay.
Honda make lawnmowers? Do Hondas make lawnmowers? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, they make lawnmowers.
I think so, but I could be wrong.
Yes, they do.
Wow, that's great. Okay.
And they also make engine for the boats. They also make engines for the boats. In the developing country, in some developing countries like India, for instance, they're market leaders in that category. Okay, so they're quite strong. Okay, now if you look at that, okay, are they consistent in terms of production? Well, making cars and bikes, you can see some consistency. Okay. Although you can also argue, well, different design, different body design, and so on and so forth. But yeah, okay, some consistency, a bit of consistency in here. But from cars to lawnmowers, well, there are two different things. Right? And in terms of distribution, you expect car dealers when it comes to buy, when it comes to buying Honda cars, right? Or a bike dealer when it comes to buying, motorbike. But lawn mowers, you need to go to Banning. Okay, you need to go to Bunnings, right? So that gives you a bit of idea in terms of that it's not consistent. How is that consumed by consumers? Well, a different ball game as well, right? You're not going to drive lawn mowers to come to campus, basically, right? You drive a car or a bike. Okay, so that's hopefully that gives you an idea or an illustration in terms of consistency. Okay, is that a big problem? Well, as long as the company can manage it within their resources, that's fine. They it helps them building their credibility in certain aspect, right? So, but from product analysis, we also need to look at how consistent they are. Okay, because that helps us understanding, what resources we need to manage them. Okay. Hopefully, this diagram gives us an idea in terms of product mix decision. Okay, a product line, product depth, and product width. Okay. Right. So that's basically the product decision. Now, just briefly about the services marketing, because I'm aware that some of you may analyze services component as well, okay? This is what we mean by service: an activity, benefit, or satisfaction offered for the customers, right? That might need their customers, the needs of the customers or wants of the customers. Now, this is the thing, okay? The critical point of service is it is intangible. So buying a service does not result in the ownership of anything. Okay, so if you buy Qantas ticket, right, it doesn't mean we will become the new owner of Qantas. Okay, if you buy, if you book a hotel, let's say Four Seasons Hotel, for instance, doesn't mean we will become the owner of that hotel. Okay, let's contrast that to product. Okay, if you buy a packet of Tim Tam, we will be the owner of that packet of Tim Tam. Okay, because it is tangible. Okay. Again, in the case of service, it is intangible. Therefore, it does not result in the transfer of ownership. Okay. We are allowed to stay in the hotel for certain duration, starting from a certain point of time, specific time. Okay. But other than that, no, we will not become the owner of the new owner of the hotel. Okay. And this is basically related to the nature of service. Okay, intangibility, inseparability, variability, and perishability. Intangibility is related to the service being, unable to be seen, tasted, felt, heard, or smelled before the purchase. Right? Before we purchase, before we check into the hotel, we have no ID. Right? Yeah, we have a bit of information, but when we open the our own room, then we have a better ID. Okay, in terms of the ambience of the hotel, ambience of the room, okay, and also smell of the room, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it is intangible. That's what we mean by intangible. And the next one is inseparability. It cannot be separated from the providers of the service. Now, there are two types of providers of the service. Okay, the first one is people. Okay, and the second one is machine. All right, people and machine. All right. And in some instances, we also have the combination of these two components to provide the service. Okay, so when we purchase service, it is people may service us. If we go to the bank, the teller may service us, or the ATM machine may service us. Okay, or sometimes a combination of those two. Okay, so if you go to the teller may ask us to swipe our key card, then combination of those two servicing us. Okay, now that has implication. Okay, that has implication in the sense that customers' evaluation on the service is also related to the provider of the service. Right, in this instance, people, the machine, or combination. Okay, not only about the brand. So when it comes to evaluating the brand, like the Four Seasons Hotel or whatever the brand is, right? Like my internet brand, for instance. Okay, I'm going to judge by people who service me when I place, a concern, when I give them feedback, I ask for support, for instance, I will also judge them, right, based on overall, service that they provide me, all right? And the next one is reliability. The quality of services depends on who provides them. In this instance, people, machine, or combination, right? When, where, and how, all right? So sometimes, we have strong team member who can provide a strong customer service, for instance. Okay, let's say John provides strong customer service, whilst the other guys, let's say Robert, it's okay, an okay guy, right? But even John, at some point of time, may have problem. Okay, probably his marriage is is on the cliff, for instance, of divorce, for instance. That may affect John, right? So that has implication as well for service company, for in services marketing, all right? Marketers would normally set the standard, right, in terms of to manage the reliability, because the customer's expectation needs to be met. Okay, so if you look at companies such as Australia Post, for instance, they try to manage that reliability as well. They tell us some time ago, they told us that they are going to deliver the mail in the next 24 hours if we put it in the box before 12 noon time, for instance. But now they sent another mail to us some time ago. I received the letter from them advising us that they are going to deliver in the next 2 by 24 hours, actually. So because of managing the costs, okay. The next one is perishability. Services cannot be stored for later sale or use. Okay, so that's it. If you can't sell it now, that's it. From accounting perspective, the inventory should be written off. Okay, think about Qantas airline. Let's say QF42. I don't know whether it exists. Just as an illustration, when the flight takes off, let's say that flight can take 200 passengers. But at a certain point of time, they could only sell 120 seats, for instance. Okay, so when the flight takes off, the 80 seats would be written off. They can't sell it in the future, right? They can't store it for future sale. Okay, so it is perishable. All right. Now that has implication. These characteristics of services marketing have implications. Okay, in the case of intangibility, the implication from customer perspective is it is hard for customers to communicate it to their relatives, their friends, and so on and so forth. Right. Therefore, services industry would normally have strong websites, a lot of marketing collateral materials. Right. If you look at schools, for instance, they normally create the brochures and so on and so forth. Hotel, the same thing as well, for instance. Okay, inseparability, so they need to, and reliability, they also need to set the standard with people. They need to think about marketing in two ways. Okay, marketing for their own people, because their own people will deliver the service as the frontliners for the customers, and that is internal marketing. And the other one is marketing to the customers, external customers. Okay. And in terms of perishability, they also need to, if you look at that, a lot of services industry have seasonality. If you look at hotel or airline industry, for instance, or any other tourism interest areas, for instance, such as zoo, for instance. Okay, so they need to manage the demand of the customers. During low seasons, the price may normally drop. But during high season, the price is escalated, for instance. That's an example of managing the perishability. Okay, right. So that's the services marketing, guys, in a nutshell, as part of our product service decision. Okay, and now the next thing I'd like to briefly discuss is the brand, and after that we are going to discuss the price and also the placement. Okay, briefly the product life cycle. This is what I mean by brand. Okay, name, term, sign, symbol, right, design, and so on and so forth, and or combination of those things that affect that differentiate one product to the other products. Okay, that's what I mean by brand. But more importantly about brand is what we say as the brand equity. what we know as brand equity or brand value. Okay. Well, what is brand equity or brand value? Well, it is actually, I think we may have discussed this some time ago, but briefly, it is about the value of knowing a brand name affecting consumers' decision making. Okay, so if we compare non-fragrant water and Eddy water, for instance, because of knowing the brand name, people may favor buying non-fragrant rather than Eddy water. Okay, and we also know that brand equity has 4 dimensions. The first one is brand awareness, the level of knowledge of that the customers have about a product or service. Okay, and the next one is brand image or brand association, which is basically about the specific word that customers use to describe our brand. Okay, and brand loyalty. Okay, whether the customers come back to us, and the next one is perceived loyalty. Perceived quality. Perceived quality. Okay, whether how is the customer perception on our quality? Okay, so there are the 4 dimensions to describe the brand equity. Okay, oops, sorry. Where am I? Sorry about that. And okay, here we are. And that's brand equity. And I'm not going to discuss about these steps in terms of building the strong brands, but we need to briefly align that back to the positioning. The positioning of the brand, and decide the brand name, and what brand sponsorship that we are going to use, either our own brand, or profit brand, or co-branding, like the guys at McDonald's do with their ice cream brand, or the bubble tea brand do with the Oreo product, for instance, with Gongcha. And brand development, whether we are going to adopt the line extension, brand extension, or multi brands, and also new brands. Okay? Right. So now just new product development process. I'm going to skip that, and that's basically the process. In a nutshell, in terms of new product development, you can also recall the screening opportunities as part of the idea screening here until we commercialize it. Okay? Now, just briefly about the product life cycle, but before we do that, I just got a warning here. Sorry about that, guys. And can I suggest we stop there and come back the next 2-3 minutes? Yeah.
Yep, all good.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot.
I've got to head off, Eddie. Are you continuing with the lecture for another half an hour?
Yep.
Okay, I've got to head off.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
I'll look out for the YouTube video. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the heads up.
Bye.
Thank you.